7 p.m. We're going to call to order the full commission hearing and meeting of July 8th, 2026. At 7 p.m., the Addison County Regional Planning Commission is hosting the third of 3 formal public hearings on the draft of the Addison County Regional Plan. The plan is available for review at our website, and the full notice of warning is also on our website. With that, I will open it up to public testimony. And Jerry, I know you have some sort. We'll start with you.
Yes, and thank you all for the opportunity. I was looking at the draft plan, and a couple of places stood out to me. This is a quote from the Population and Housing section, page 7. It reads, "Housing is a key element of any sustainable community. The stock should have the potential to expand at a rate that can accommodate future population increases and economic growth." And then in another place, that same chapter, the same page 7, reads, "Between 2000 and 2020, the region's population increased at a rate of 3.9%, and that comes out to an average of 0.2% per year." Then it goes on, "Concurrently, the number of households increased at a rate of 14%, so on and so on. The increase in total households, along with the shrinking of household size, has created the need for additional smaller scale housing units to support the current population." And my question to that reasoning is why? It doesn't make sense to me that we have essentially a stable population in the county, and yet the Planning Commission is advocating pulling out all the stops to increase the number of households in the face of a stable population. I guess just so those people can have even smaller households. I don't know, it seems strange to me. On page 5 of that same chapter, it says, "The current population of Addison Region is significantly lower than previously projected. Certain assumptions are made regarding these projections, such as advances in healthcare resulting in lower death rates. Some changes, however, cannot be predicted." And so that means, as I read it, that population projections showing a significant growth in population in the county just don't exist. There are no such projections. The Planning Commission advocates increasing county population without really coming out to say so, but reading other things, that seems to be the indication. Without clearly stating the targets and the dates, it seems to me if you're going to advocate population growth, you should say that population of the county should be such and such at such and such a date. Then looking at one other section of that chapter, in 2025 there were 59 homeless, which includes those living in shelters.
Which page is this? Sorry? Which page is this? I'm trying to read along.
This is Addison County.
Right, well where's the
page 5.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, page 5 and the chapter on population and housing. So that's a very small number, and that includes the people who are currently sheltered in some way or other. The number of people living under the Cross Street Bridge is presumably smaller than that, and that is definitely a housing crisis in my view, but that doesn't seem to be the focus of the Planning Commission. Then looking at one place in chapter 2, which is on energy, page 1 in chapter 2, under B, greenhouse gas reduction requirements under Vermont law, 26% from 2005 levels by 2025, 40% reduction from 1990 levels by 2030, and 80% reduction from 1990 levels by 2050. So if you, to my mind, greenhouse gas emissions is definitely a crisis, but the Planning Commission has advocated certain things to reduce per capita greenhouse gas emissions, and that's fine, that's laudable, but that's only half of the arithmetic. You also have to consider the number of capitas. And if the population increases significantly, and particularly if the number of households increases significantly, then that is going to increase the carbon output. That would be mitigated if new housing or renovated housing had requirements for things like heat pumps or stubs for car chargers, but those requirements are just not there. And finally, one comment about the map. The map shows growth areas in every town in the county, apparently by taking the aggregate number of housing units that we're looking for and then divvying them up. But to me, that just makes no sense. There's no gain in having housing near the center of Whiting or near the center of Goshen, because towns like that, and there are a number of them in the county, just don't have any commercial center. If you want to go to the dentist, or you want to go shopping, or you have a job, you go to Burlington, or you go to Middlebury, or you go to Virginians. You don't go to downtown Ripton. So that part of the map just doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you, duly noted. Any other testimony? Okay, thank you. We'll leave the public hearing open.
I think Joya may wanted to have given us some testimony.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, there were just a couple of things, and this is my bad, being the, on the board for the economic development section in this book, but I did look through it, and I thought a couple ways to improve it would be to take a couple things that we mentioned. Well, one thing we mentioned at the end, which are on page 12 in chapter 6, the communal multi-use spaces. And that was something we talked about including, because that is a can-do item, and we just need to insert it in all the places here. In the rest, there are a couple, I have them marked throughout the whole document, just in order to have it be consistent through the whole document. I thought that would be an important thing to accomplish. And then the second thing was when I read through and I got to page 10, chapter 10, page 1, there's a Vermont Act 154, which defines environmental justice focused populations. And so EJFP, and there's a definition there. And that was something that we were struggling in some ways we kept on referring to basically what that is in very succinct terms in the economic development chapter, as far as I see it. And that reference there could be a reference made to that in the demographics and workforce section to sort of tie the whole thing together. And that terminology could be used throughout. There was a couple places where under the pay gaps, I think that there can definitely be reference to sort of similar to what we did infrastructure, just talking about Vermont has some of the oldest infrastructure. We're sort of just saying it right there and say that, the pay gaps are one of the contributors to the environmental justice population. So actually just calling it what it is that the state has defined for us later on in, which I apologize that I was not aware of. So, those were the two things that I thought that could be woven through the economic development chapter better, and and in the other places in the document that refer to the economic development, just in the little statement of policy pages. I mean, there are different pages throughout the document, and I have them all marked in my book, but it's page 6 and page
So Joya,
8,
you'll send
just
those to me?
places like that. So I don't know whether anybody's interested in discussing that and whether that resonates with anybody else, we may have, by using that language throughout more consistently, we can solve some of our own problems in defining things.
Thank you, Joya. Will you send those changes to Adam, please?
Will do.
Thank you. Any other testimony? Okay, we're gonna leave the hearing open in case we receive more testimony. But concurrently, we're gonna switch things around a little bit. We have Vance DeBooter, who is our auditor, online, and he's gonna give us an overview, a brief overview, and anything else you want to add, Adam.
Yeah, so Vance met with our e-board, and welcome, Vance. Do you want to wave to the crowd from, there you go, from your Hollywood Square? And
Yes.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Sure.
Vance met with our e-board for about an hour a couple of weeks ago to go over the audit. He's going to do a much shorter overview tonight, but a link to the audit was in your package, so you all should have it. I will probably share it, and Vance, you can tell me where you want to be with it. But welcome, thank you for joining us, and
Yes.
I guess would love to have you hit the highlights for the full commission.
Great. Yes. Well, yes. So I met with the e-board, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, and presented the audit to them in great depth, which we won't do today. Overall, the audit went well. Obviously, it's sort of a year in arrears, as you well know. Starting out, the independent auditor's report. The report is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which means that the financial statements, based on the audit work that I had done, were free of material misstatement and are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and generally accepted auditing standards. I encountered no difficulties in performing the audit. By difficulties, I mean there weren't items in the financial statements that were technically difficult to comprehend or required significant additional work. The internal financials were in good shape when I received the backup from QuickBooks. So like I said, the opinion is a clean opinion. Following the auditor's report, there's a discussion of management's discussion and analysis, which is a little sort of an overview of the commission, the use of the financial statements, the fact that, chartered by the state of Vermont. Overall, the year ended with a surplus of just over $37,000. That number would have been higher by about 57,000, but the commission, in consultation with their local CPA, they made an adjustment or a decision to adjust for accrued sick time, which had never been done in the past. That number got to be a material amount, which I believe Adam, Rebecca, and the local CPA felt that it should be accrued for. So that impacted both the liabilities on the statement of net position and also the statement of activities. So it had a $57,000 increase in liabilities and increase in expenses. So overall, the commission had a fairly strong financial year. One of the other items of note on the financial statements, on the statement of activities, was a prior period adjustment, which is not something you see every year on an audit, or you hope you don't see it every year. That was the result of Rebecca and her finance partner and the CPA going through the books, and there were items of both revenue and expenses that should have been in the prior year audit that were not included in the prior year audit. The effect on that is it increased your unrestricted net position by just over $18,000. So it doesn't have an impact on this year's 37,000, but it impacts the prior year's net position, in which case that number was increased by $18,000, which you see on the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in net position on page 10. There's the change in net position near the bottom shows the prior period adjustment. There's also a reference to it in the management's discussion and analysis. And it appears in various places throughout the audit as well. But overall, the assets of the commission are very strong. Statement of the total assets of about 1.5 million and liabilities of about 886,000. Cash at the end of the year was about 703,000, which, if you divide it by the amount of expenses that the Regional Planning Commission have, you have about 140 days of cash on hand, which is just under 5 months, which is a pretty good measure. What that means is if you had no revenues or no income coming through the door for 5 months, you could still exist. That's a very strong position. The budget to actual, there's a note in the management's discussion and analysis about the schedule of operations, budget and actual. Revenues were about just under 600,000 below what the budgeted revenues were, but expenses were also about 500,000 below what the budget was, and that was due to the clean water grant, whereas work hadn't been done. Most of the work will be done on this grant will be done by consultants, in which case if you're not doing the work, then you're also not incurring the cost for the consultants. So while revenues, like I said, were about 590,000 below budget, expenditures were almost 500,000 below budget. So it's in line. Also during the year, the commission went through their fixed assets and wrote off a bunch of obsolete assets that have been on the books for years, numerous old computers, office equipment. There was no impact on the financial statements because these assets were fully depreciated. So all it really did was it didn't really increase or decrease your assets at all, but because the assets are shown on the statement of net position, net of depreciation, so that number didn't change. There's about $85,000 of assets and $85,000 of depreciation, so it's been sort of a wash. So there's no effect on the statement of net position. Cash was down slightly from year to year by about 135,000. But receivables were up by over 300,000. So that was a good thing. Receivables were just over 600,000 at the end of June 30, 2025. And at the conclusion of the field work, which I did on the audit, I think all but $7,000 or $8,000 had been collected. So that's also a good sign that the work you're doing and invoicing, is able to be collected, which historically has been the case because a lot of the work you're doing is work that you have a contract for. And you incur costs, you send bills for it, and you get paid. The DHC money is one of the few items that you get without performing work per se. You get a quarterly amount from DHC. And just in the last few years also, you've gotten money ahead, they have deferred revenue, which has really never been on the statements. For any of you who don't know, I did the audit a number of years until 2021, and for the last 3 years, it was done by a firm from New Hampshire. So speaking historically, like I believe last year there was almost $400,000 of deferred revenue, which in the past that number has, or actually almost 500,000 of deferred revenue. In the past, the only deferred revenues were municipal dues that were received prior to June 30th. I believe Pauline used to invoice them in mid-June, in which case some of them would arrive before the end of June. So that would be the only deferred revenue. But that's also partially why the cash balance is so high. The deferred revenue is dollars that were paid to the Regional Planning Commission that are sitting in various operating accounts and sweep accounts earning interest. That's sort of a brief overview of the audit. And I'm happy to take any questions people may have. There are various other schedules. So, the auditor's report on internal control, basically saying we're not providing an opinion on internal control, but that we've looked at it. And there's also a report for VTrans stating that I have performed the audit on duly licensed under the state of Vermont. So I welcome any questions that people have regarding the audit.
Go ahead, Phil.
A couple of questions. Vance, the $18,000 of prior
period adjustment. Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything on there that could be repeatable that we could see again in the future that we need to look out for?
That I think with the processes currently in place and Rebecca being a year more familiar with the financials, and I think Adam is more involved also with making sure that things are billed timely, that this likely won't repeat. It's possible that something slides through the cracks, but obviously with April leaving last year at the end of April or May, and things not being as tidy as they should have been at that point was the recipe for this. It wasn't willful or fraud related, or it was merely an oversight from what I could tell from looking at the work that I did and the conversations with Rebecca and with Adam. Like I said, when I was talking about it originally, it's very rare when you see a prior period adjustment.
As far as the equipment that you mentioned that got
Yes.
written off, is there a procedure in place now to make sure that doesn't happen again? Is there equipment in the office that we're worried about, Rebecca, or is this was a one-off and we now have a procedure in place to make sure that any older equipment gets written off in a timely fashion?
Was that a question for Rebecca or?
Either one of you.
Well, when I looked at the depreciation schedule, because you're reporting things net, going through the depreciation schedule is not as crucial. But when you've got computers from 2000 or 2010 and fax machines and things that they said they didn't affect the carrying value of the statement of net position. So it's probably an exercise that more agencies and even for-profit companies should go through, but they just don't. Nowadays, computers are almost obsolete in 2 to 3 years.
They are.
Not that they're obsolete, but there's always something newer, better, and faster. The Regional Planning Commission did change their policy on capitalizing assets from $1,000 to $2,500. I think mainly because $1,000 is a very low threshold. Would spend that for a number of years. And also a lot of what the Regional Planning Commission buys is computers, which really, don't last 5 years. Well, they do, but they're useful. You might have replaced them by then. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to depreciate them for 5 years. A lot of times the cost is somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 for a high-end computer. It's, if you bought, maybe a dozen computers every year, then you might consider depreciating them. But whenever, replacing them as you do, there were no fixed asset additions in the current year.
And last question, the controls that you just mentioned that you couldn't comment on in
Yes.
the audit, is that something you'll be able to do in the future?
Well, the report on internal control, which if you look back at prior year audits, the goal of this report is basically saying that we don't form an opinion on internal controls. We look at internal controls as auditors, to see controls that are in place, for cash and handling receivables and things. So we are very much looking at controls in all aspects of the work that I'm doing behind the scenes, but no one, provides an opinion on internal controls. So internal controls are constantly being looked at, and having been familiar with the Regional Planning Commission for a number of years, we don't test internal controls because it's really not cost efficient in a small organization. In an ideal world for internal controls, you'd have someone in the accounting field that generates invoices, somebody that reconciles the checkbook, someone that receives payments, someone that does accounts payable, someone that oversees this. And no small organization has, 8 or 9 people in their finance department.
Fair.
Those are the big, large companies, yes, but small companies, no. The region, no one, I don't believe anyone at Regional Planning Commission has check signing authority. There are certain transfer permissions they have to do things like federal tax deposits, things like that, which are done every couple of weeks or whenever every pay period is done. But, as far as, someone having access to a checkbook, no. Just been in place for many, many years.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any
Hello.
other questions?
Nick Corsten, were there any receivables written off during the period or major adjustments to billings?
I think during the course of the year, I believe there was an entry on the books for about $6,000 from an old Middlebury sidewalks project, I believe, in total. But that likely should have been written off the prior year. It was an old 22 or 23 receivable.
Okay.
But nothing material. I think there's like I said, when I had finished my analysis of subsequent receipts for accounts receivable, I think 96% had been received by the end of May.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments for Vance? Hearing
There
none,
are
thank you.
some companies that do have a problem with collecting receivables, and in the event that that's the case, there would be an allowance, which would reduce the amount of your net receivables to what an expected, collection rate would be. Historically, the Regional Planning Commission has been able to collect, most, if not all, of their outstanding receivables. Like I said, because it's contract work.
Yep.
You have a contract for it. You provide your invoices and your supporting documentation to get paid.
Thank you.
Yes.
Shannon, would you like a motion to accept the
Sure.
auditor's report?
Yeah, we can do that right now. That would be great.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Ron. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. Any comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye or hand up.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I think you're good. Thank you, Vance.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you,
If
Vance.
any of
Thank
you
you.
have questions after this, please feel free to reach out. Sometimes people have questions that they don't want to ask in front of the executive director or the finance person, and that's perfectly fine. That's oftentimes happens in audit presentations where they ask those people to leave the room, and they might ask me if I had any difficulties with the audit or difficulties with people. I can say right off now that I did not. But like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you don't have my contact information, you can get it from Rebecca or Adam.
Thank you, Vance.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay. Good night. Last chance for public testimony on the public hearing. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and move on to our business agenda. Thank you. First item up is approval of minutes. You'll notice that there were 2 meetings in there because we had neglected to do the April 8th minutes earlier. So I would entertain a motion for the April 8th minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Melanie. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Joya.
You've got Joya and
I don't think I was there.
Okay.
April's a long
Joya
time
and
ago,
Jeannie?
but I think that's what I remember.
No problem. Okay, moving on to the minutes for our June 10th meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Tom.
Somebody needs a mute button.
Can I get a second?
I'll second this.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think it's Bill.
Just one comment. Under the attendance, for Otter Creek Natural Resources District, it lists a Ron Payne, and he is not a member of the board of the Otter Creek Natural Resources District or the staff. So I'm not sure quite why he's listed there.
I think he's under Otter Creek Audubon, John, but I may have gotten it wrong.
Okay, well, that's absolutely fine. I'm delighted he's part of Audubon, but it lists him as Otter Creek Natural Resources Conservation District. So that's fine, Adam.
Got it. No, I see that. You're correct. Thank you.
And Ron was our second on those 7 minutes, by the way, in case you didn't get that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Actually, who moved them?
Tom moved them.
Thank you, Tom.
Any further discussion? Jeannie, you have your hand up. Discussion item or from before? Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes with the slight correction, please indicate by saying aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You got Nick and Jeremy abstaining. And possibly Jeannie. Okay, thank you. Moving on, in your packet were also minutes to the executive board meeting of June 24th. They're there for your information. No action has to be taken on them, but if you have any questions or concerns, please ask Adam or an e-board member whenever you want, and we'd be happy to respond. Next up is Treasurer's Report.
Okay. Let's see. Hold on, I'm gonna get. There we are. Sorry, just updating my roll call with a couple people that came in late.
No problem.
So let's see. I will share a couple of things with you. Share. It's the audit. Let's see. I'm back to basically sharing bank balance accounts as of today, 7/8. Basically, July 8th, we have $94,000 in the checking account. It's not uncommon for our accounts to go down a little bit at the end of the year because we have not started billing yet. The fourth quarter ended June 30th. You can see we have a significant amount of money in the QUISP savings account. We have funded payroll for 7/10, and the money market account is at $83,000. Moving to accounts receivable. I've got to move that. We have about $153,000 of outstanding accounts receivables, and in addition to that, we will start billing basically June 30th. Quarter ending receivables this week. Rebecca's actually already started that. We have about, I think, 25 different accounts to bill. Rebecca gave me a couple of notes to look at, and they're eluding me at the moment. But so in addition to the 153 there, we have another 25 accounts. I think that'll amount to at least a couple $100,000. So we will be getting those out over the course of the next couple of weeks. So I expect the balances will increase as those receivables will come in.
And Adam,
Rebecca,
is the bond bank a pass-through for us?
A portion of the bond bank is a pass-through for us.
Yeah.
So we are the lead contractor for all of the RPCs. So we send them a bill for all of the RPCs, and then we distribute basically portions of that bill to each of the other 10 RPCs. So that money is not all ours, but it looks like that one's been paid already anyway.
That's what I was looking at. So this money came in and it's already been paid out.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's see. I am going to stop sharing here. Okay, you're all back. Let's see. Also, for the treasurer's report, we spent a significant amount of time talking about this with the executive board last week. What we proposed to them was, rather than doing a interim March financial for this meeting, we would strive to get a year-end financial, so June 30th financial, by your separate September meeting. That basically allows us to focus on year-end. It allows us to focus on getting prepping for the next audit and getting that done on time. We usually present that to you all in December. And gets us much more up to date more quickly and efficiently. So the e-board accepted that plan when we talked with them again a couple of weeks ago, and we are moving forward with that and basically correcting systems and getting our numbers in place for next year after a clean audit for 2025.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Adam?
Adam, have you guys made progress moving towards that date?
Have we made progress?
Yeah, have you made progress on the book since our last meeting?
Sure. Yes. We have been focusing on the audit. We have been focusing on current accounts receivable and kind of year-end closing things. But the answer is yes, we make progress. So Sharon and Rebecca meet a couple hours every week and basically are talking about systems for the audit. Kerry works on basically moving our billing forward, pay periods, taking care of current bills, and also basically working back to July 1st of last year. We changed our payroll system in December of this current year, and she's been basically working back to bring all of our pay periods for the current year up to a system where they're billed bi-weekly as opposed to monthly, so that they sync directly with the QuickBooks account. So she's almost done with that work. I think I told you she was in September last meeting. She's got it down to August, so we have one more month to go there, which is good news.
That's better.
So yes, I can say that we continue to make progress. Progress in 26 is going to be faster, better, because we're in better shape than we were in 25.
Any other questions, comments? You're not needing a motion to approve anything there, so okay. We will now move on to committee reports. Act 250.
Let's see, the committee did not meet. Yeah, the committee did not meet.
Okay. Energy, Cheryl.
Oh,
go ahead.
I guess I would say you have asked me to monitor the Vermont gas systems litigation that's been moving through the PUC. So it's 248, and that's not necessarily 250. I have been doing that. They basically have until the middle of July to submit, or they've stipulated to all the evidence. They've got to put in their final briefs and such by the middle of July. I expect the PUC will make a final decision on that sometime this fall. The question is largely limited to were the variations or deviations, actually the PUC found that the deviations from how the line was built were significant enough that they needed to get another certificate of public good. This mainly deals in the Moncton and New Haven swamp, where probably a couple thousand feet of the line was less than 4 feet in depth, so not what they said it would be. They had trouble sinking it in the swamp. There are a couple other issues, but largely the PUC will either say we believe it's safe and we're going to amend the existing certificate of public good, issue a new certificate of public good acknowledging the work that was done, or we're going to make them do something with that section of line. I suppose they could yank the certificate of public good, but I don't necessarily expect that would happen, given that the line's been in operation for almost 12 years, no, 10 years. So that's where that stands. You'll have a final decision probably at the end of the fall, and if you wanted to go to the PUC and read the briefs, basically, read the different arguments of the different parties, you'll be able to do that at the end of July.
Thank you. Any questions for Adam on that? Okay, Cheryl, over to you for energy.
We actually took a break after a very successful regional energy fair, so we did not meet.
Okay. Local government did not meet. We are still going to be in the works for maybe expanding the role of what the local government committee is going to do above and beyond reviewing municipal plans, but that's forthcoming, so you'll hear more about that later. Natural resources.
Did not meet.
Did not meet. TAC met in June. Mike provided highlights from the transportation bill. He let everybody know that the TAC grants were going to be closing at the end of June, and I'm not sure what he's gotten in from that. And then we also had a presentation from Jack Mandeville Evans from Local Motion, mostly about e-bikes and e-motos. And I'll take any questions on that if anybody has them. If not, housing did not meet. Economic development.
We did meet as Brownfields. I was unable to attend, so if there's somebody else who could speak to that meeting that's in attendance.
Yeah, we met, and then we were, I don't know if it was announced or not that the RPC got another round of Brownfields funding. So we discussed a little bit about, well, it was a couple of things. The contractor from this prior round of funding was at the meeting, and we had a chance to hear from him and kind of debrief on the prior work a little bit. And then we let him go and talked a little bit about the forthcoming work. And Andrew, who was heading up that meeting on the staff side, along with Danelle, proposed basically developing an article for the Addie ND about the work conducted so far and then introducing the new grant work. That's my recollection of the key points. Ron or Phil, other things that you would add based on that meeting?
Looks like no. Any questions or comments for Melanie?
I'd just say the new grant moving forward is a $500,000 grant for assessments. It's, I think, a 3 or 4 year term. So they'll be working on putting out an RFP for consultants and choosing a new one, and then basically moving forward, finishing up some work on some of the old brownfield sites that didn't quite get closed. So we still need to do a phase 2 work on, I believe, the Addison School and the Town of Addison School, Town of Addison Town Hall, and then we'll go from there, looking for new opportunities.
Thank you. On to joint partners, delegate staff recognition.
Alex is here, I believe. There he is. Alex, is there anything you would like to say?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. Apologies for the delay. Not too much to report on from the world of ACRPC, but one thing I am excited to share is that we recently submitted an application to USAID for capital to fund a revolving loan fund for water and wastewater work, specifically pre-development work that could assist small municipalities in engineering and planning work for water and wastewater systems. This could apply to folks who don't have public systems, so whether it's community septic or wells to serve multiple properties. This is something we're really excited about. It will be a very competitive program, so who knows if we'll get the funding. But if we do, would certainly love to engage folks on this board on how we can get out to some communities and put that money to work on planning for water and wastewater. So yeah, we'll share more updates on that when we hear more. Otherwise, we're staying busy with housing and CHIP and all things small business.
Alex, you want to say anything about your CHIP meeting on Friday?
Yes, thank you, Adam, for the reminder. So yeah, I would love to let folks know that we will be hosting a CHIP workshop with Jessica Hartleben, the Executive Director of BEPSI, who is administering CHIP. We'll also have Alex Farrell, the Commissioner of Housing and Community Development, and Bonnie Waninger from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. So the three of them will be serving as a panel for a public workshop on the CHIP program. And for folks who aren't aware, that's the Community Housing Infrastructure Program. It provides tax increment financing for infrastructure and public improvements that directly serve new housing. Again, that is a public forum, so if folks would like to attend, that's 10 a.m. to noon at the Virgins Opera House. I would ask that folks please email me and let me know if they'd like to come. My email is aarmani-1@addisoncountyedc.org, and if you visit our website, you'll be able to find that email there as well. So yeah, please come out. It'll be a great opportunity to learn all about CHIP and have any questions you may have about the program answered. So thank you, Adam.
Alex, what was the date on that again?
That'll be this Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
And Tim, you have a question too?
Oh, yeah, I was just, the other day I was just talking with our town clerk, and I wasn't aware that Tri-Town isn't taking any new connections. There's a remodel right across from the town clerk's office that's right on town water, and they were told they couldn't reconnect to municipal water, and the property being developed at 22A and Route 7 was shut down as well. I didn't know if any of this money that Alex working on is going to stabilize Tri-Town Water's capacity.
Is it
That was
Tri-Town
news
or
to me.
Virgins, Panton, Tim?
I'm sorry, Adam, you're correct. That would be, you're correct. That would be the Virgins, right? The Arnold Bay supply system.
Virgins,
Right,
Panton.
that's, yeah, thank you. Sorry, Adam, I misspoke.
And Tim, I will say, if we are lucky enough to secure that money, then certainly we'd want to engage not just municipalities, but any utility districts like Penn, Virgins, to see how we can support, again, planning, engineering for expansions to improve capacity.
Had anybody else heard this? That they've shut down on any new connections to the water source?
No.
Yeah, it was news to me too. I mean, you're talking a house that was already connected, getting scraped, remodeled, can't hook back up.
Are you sure it's system-wide and not just because they have some connections with small lines? Because I know they have a lot of distribution lines that are undersized.
You know, Adam, that's a good question. All I know is the main line runs right down Route 7, and this house is literally kitty corner from across, and it, you know, has a direct connection, and it goes. I know that I worked on. You remember when we worked on looking at some proposals there for the property at Route 7 and 22A by the train station, and a whole portion of that was based on the potential to use municipal water to develop that system, and that's been nixed because of capacity limitations.
Okay.
And I don't know, it just came as a surprise to me. I wasn't aware of that, and since Alec was speaking to this, I thought I'd bring it up.
Okay. Danelle's been working with them too, so I will have her ask that question directly.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything else for Alex? Okay, any other joint partners, delegates, staff?
Well, it is the first meeting of our fiscal year, so I'd like to welcome any new delegates that are here. I see all familiar faces. I don't see any new faces. So I'm not sure we have any. We have a couple of different alternates from towns, but I would also like to thank all of you for signing up again, and look forward to working with you in the coming year.
John has his hand up.
I'd just like to announce that for the Otter Creek Natural Resources District, our long-term district manager has resigned effective July 10th, this Friday, and we are in the process of interviewing new candidates. And hopefully, in a very short period of time, we will be announcing a new district manager.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, Maple Broadband update. Steve Huffaker was not able to be here this evening, but he asked me to fill in for him. Right now, there are 713 active subscribers. Most of our work right now is going into finalizing the ARPA spending that we have and trying to build out from that. And in tandem with that, expanding with the affordable long drop program, and of course, trying to work through the BEAD program changes. Any questions or comments on that? I'm happy to take. And we've done the acceptance of the audit. Any other old business for anybody? Okay, moving on to new business. In your packet was a letter or a form for requesting for committee assignments. I'll turn it over to you, Adam.
Great. So yes, in the package, there was a request for committee assignments. We ask all delegates to serve on at least one committee. You're welcome to serve on as many as you like or more than that. Please get back to either Kerry Danshaw, Dashnow, or me. And the addresses are on the with your committee request. I will bring those to the e-board at their August meeting. The e-board basically makes committee assignments. They try and give everybody their first or second choice. They want to try and balance committees, make sure all committees have enough people to be functional, make sure that they work well. They will make that decision at their August meeting, the 4th week in August. They will bring that back to you, committee assignments back to you September. At our September full commission meeting. I think it's the 10th. And let's see, if you have any questions about committee assignments, you can speak to me or any of the staff members, or you can speak with the executive board. It should be a really good year for committees. I have asked staff to get together with the chairs of the committees. And, you know, since we have put so much time into this regional plan, it's time to ask our committees to start implementing. So start looking at basically the implementation sections in each of the practice areas of the plan, and really get the committees to focus on implementation this year. I have one other thing. And I guess I would ask you, if you are currently on a committee and the committee meets prior to September, to stay on the committee.
Thank you.
Do all of the committees line up with all of the activities in the plan? Are there
not necessarily?
So what happens to those areas where there are action plans, there are objectives, that there's not a committee that is involved with that?
So like emergency management, for example. We do have a regional emergency management committee that's separate from the full commission that Andrew works with. And it's made up of the emergency managers from each of the member municipalities. So that's taken care of in that way. There are other things where we will work with other departments. Health department is coming here next week or so, a couple of different people. I know that's an interest of yours. I can't remember the exact date, but we're meeting with them. You know, it's staff contract work. So when you look at our work plan and budget, there are a number of different contracts from other agencies that don't necessarily fall into a committee bucket. That answer your question?
It skates around the edges, yeah.
All right. How can I do better?
Well, I mean, let's use health as an example. It's a pretty big issue here. It's a big issue throughout the county and throughout the state. Should we be more active in some of those things that are occurring or not occurring? I look at the plan, and it outlines some things around healthcare and around making sure that we have access to healthcare. I'm not sure that's necessarily an area that the Department of Health is going to have a lot of involvement in. Or do we just kind of go, okay, well, you know, maybe 8 years from now when we do the next plan, we'll do something, or are there opportunities for us to be a little bit more proactive?
And it depends a little bit on the funding that's available for staff to go out and pursue that work. So, you know, unfortunately, the last health project we were working on had its funding pulled. But we are looking to work with the Department of Health again. I can't say, and there are a lot of other organizations that work in the healthcare field. It's not traditionally one that we've done, but it's absolutely important to regional planning.
Yeah.
So we tend to skate relatively lightly in that field, because there are so many other players in it. So it's a different, well, it's a relatively new in the big scheme of things for us, and we're still finding our way forward. If there are things that you'd like to do though, Ron, let's talk about them.
I look at, I mean, there's healthcare, and certainly you're up against some 600-pound gorillas when you're dealing with healthcare, but then there's health. Healthcare is really good when we're sick. They're not so good keeping us healthy. So a lot of that falls, I think, on local municipalities to do specific planning. And boy, I think they would benefit from some modeling and some suggestions and some data and some assistance from a larger entity. They ain't getting it from healthcare. I think that kind of leaves Planning Commission as one of the kind of default organizations that might need to step up.
Great.
And I would just add that there's nothing precluding us from generating a new committee. Housing is a new committee in the last 7 years or so. You know, we've had an interest and we had interested people. So if you have ideas, yeah, we can put it on the table and talk about it and figure out if we can make that work or not.
Great.
So, anything else regarding committee assignments? Moving on to.
Yes, I had, Shannon,
sorry.
I did not see a form in the packet for committee assignments.
Okay.
Next to last page.
I didn't see it.
We'll make sure we send you one.
Okay. I had a couple other comments.
Sure.
I thought I read the welcome package and it was very welcome. It was great. Part of the welcome package was the work plan for this year that just started last week. And one of the things in that work plan I was very excited about, which is informational content for the commission at each meeting. And I would love to help guide that. There were topics there, and if you want to refer that to the e-board or whatever you want to do, I think it's a great plan to have informational sessions as part of every commission meeting. I wanted to laud you for that. That's it.
Thank you, Anna. You were jumping ahead of me because we were going to talk about the welcome package next.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know how to get my hand down. Dear.
So I didn't see the request for committee assignments in the package, but I thought it was in there.
It is.
It's almost at the very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it. It's all the way at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where
Thank
I
you.
found it too.
Yeah, it's in the.
I'll make sure you get one, Anna. I'll send you one tomorrow. Welcome package.
Well, so in your package for this meeting, there is a welcome package. It contains a fair amount of information, we hope it's a pretty comprehensive package for you. It includes our bylaws. It includes our work plan and budget for this year. It includes all of your names and contact information so that you all can speak with us or speak with each other, as well as staff. Basically names, contact information. Executive board members have an asterisk next to their name, so you can tell who's on the executive board. bylaws, some of the different places that we work in, an acronyms list. But it is intended to provide answers for you. I am also available to meet with people individually if you want to look at the work plan and budget in more depth. I generally do that with new commissioners, but I'm happy to put it out there for all of you. Just call me, schedule a meeting, and we can sit down, look at the budget, look at the work plan, kind of get a better feel for what we do. Let's see. I guess I'm happy to take any questions on the welcome package. Oh, it's also on the website, so you don't have to print it and save it. If you go to the About section of the website, most all of the information in the welcome package is also listed on the website.
Thank you for the acronym key.
And then on to the meeting calendar.
So meeting calendar for FY27, this fiscal year. This is basically, it's for your information. It's also something that I would like you all to approve. Tonight, we meet on the second Wednesday of every month, with the exception of August, when there is no meeting. So no meeting next month. Our next meeting will be in September. We will ask everybody to vote on the regional plan at that time. So we need a supermajority. So really appreciate all of your showing up in September. The meeting calendar, it has the dates, and then it also has some kind of helpful hints for certain things that we do every year. So for example, when we adopt the budget, when we vote for officers, nominating committees, things of that nature. So I also will ask Rebecca to send out a kind of a save the date electronically, so we don't run into any kerfuffles with the getting into the meetings like we did last meeting. And I apologize to those of you who could not get into the meeting. I know I had trouble being remote myself, so sorry about that, and we'll take care of that. I guess I'd like a motion on the meeting calendar.
Entertain a motion to approve the meeting calendar.
So,
thank you, Melanie. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ron. Any discussion or questions on the calendar? Hearing none.
Shannon,
Yep.
I just had one thing, and that's the annual meeting in May that usually starts way before 7 o'clock. So I don't know if should be an asterisk there just to let people know, but otherwise it looks good.
You are right. So I guess, yes, I will, I'll amend it to put an asterisk that the annual meeting starts early. Because we do a social hour with you, and that's meant to be a time where you all can get together in person and talk with one another.
Super.
So thank you for that, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Adam?
Yes, yes, Tim.
If we know, like in my case, I'm going to be gone that first week of September. I'm gone when we vote. Can you cast a vote without,
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe you need to be present at the meeting to cast a vote.
Okay.
The alternate.
Well, Ferrisburg does not have it.
What's that?
Ron suggested you send your alternate, but you don't have one.
All right, maybe we get an alternate before.
There you go.
Exactly. Are you two guys okay with a friendly amendment on accepting with that slight change?
Yep. Sure.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. All in favor of the annual calendar, please indicate by saying aye or giving a thumbs up.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You are good to go, sir. Any other new business?
Question on the regional plan. We've been taking some testimony on it, and I'm curious how we acknowledge that testimony, if it goes anywhere, if we review it, discuss it, try to sort of
Incorporate it?
incorporate it. Yeah.
So the
in
answer
some
is
way.
yes. We
And
absolutely take
and
the
how is that
comments seriously. Basically, we as staff will review it. Depending on the section that's involved, we can bring it back to the committee. So there were some housing things tonight that Jerry brought up. We can talk with you all about that. It will be really your committee that will make more of that decision as to whether or not we want to propose a change and whether or not it's a substantive change. Not all changes rise to the level of substantive changes. If we do make substantive changes, we need to hold another hearing. So for example, the reason for this third hearing was that the statute changed. And basically we took out the language that the biggest substantive change was that the statute changed regarding Act 181, and we took out the language regarding Tier 3 and the road rule. So they were the law when we wrote the plan, the law changed, we changed the plan, so we held another hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Just curious about that.
No, it's a
Was
good
hoping
question.
that people sort of sitting through these meetings who are not on the commission would know that their comments are taken seriously.
Absolutely. Any other new business? Any member concerns or information that anybody would like to share? Hearing none. I would suggest we adjourn by unanimous consent at 8:11 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.